All right, hello there, and this is Keith Hayden, the digital novelist. Today I have a special treat for you, and I'm going to be reading a a guy's novel. He goes by Robert Riddle, and he's got this epistolary novel, Delphine. And I met Mr. Riddle at the Las Vegas Book Festival this past weekend, and I thought he was pretty interesting because he's surrounded by all of these booths, all these fancy, displays and all these people behind him. And there he was sitting at this lone table, and he just had a few stickers and a few QR codes. And I don't know, something about this guy, just kind of that scrappiness of getting a table and just showing up and being like, he had no physical copies of his novel. He gave me this QR code, I scanned it, and then the novel's online. And so I thought that was pretty cool. I admired his just, you know, his drive and just, it takes daring to show up when you don't have a lot, you don't have physical novels, but what the hell? Just do it anyway. So I'm going to read a little bit of this novel. I don't really know what it's about, um, but it seems interesting. I like the way, we've got the Delta here, um, Delphine. It just seems kind of cool. An online only novel from a local author. So we're going to get into it and see what it has in store. I'm going to check it out for a little bit. And if you are interested in if you are an indie novelist, or if you're a fiction writer and you're interested in being a part of this community day, this is my community day. I do it once a week where I just help other people. This is my way of giving back to the community, help other people with their writing, do some editing, and also do some reading just to give some exposure, because it's hard to talk about your own novel. You kind of need other people to hype it up. And that's what I want to do. I want to dramatically read a little bit of this novel and see what Mr. Riddle is all about. So, first thing I noticed was 2038. That's interesting. We've got a near future novel, which I love. Sampson and Press, Los Valles, Nevada. I don't know if that's a real town in Nevada, but I've never heard of it, but it might be. There's a lot of little small towns tucked away in the desert. Salut, I'm Insectivore, the proprietor LLM for Sampson and Press. Click me whenever you like more options. Destiny is yours. Okay, so click me. Where do I click? I guess you can't click those. Okay. Oh, we got a theme song. I love this. All right, let's go. Let's hear the theme song. Oh, you can't hear it because you can't hear it because it's not going to it. I'm gonna have to change this and put on my headphones. Okay, let's hear what this theme song has to say. Oh, okay. Okay. Hmm. Remind. I love this. It sounds so old school. It reminds me of the intro of like a PS1 game, like way, way back in the day. If you're not old enough to know what that sounds like, then go emulate it or something. But yeah, it's cool. Neurophobia. All right, I dig that. All right, let's see table of contents. Okay, looks like we've got French. Uh oh, gonna make me bust out my French. There's not much to be busted out. Uh, Title, chapitre. Un, deux, trois. You've got 11 chapters. Okay, so not too long. All right, let's check out the first chapter. Premier chapitre. Chapitre. I don't know how to say it. Private Detective Mitchell Cox was sitting at a table by the window in a Flask's coffee shop downtown. He was waiting for an old friend to arrive. As he waited, he had time to look around at the shop, out the window, out the window at the neighborhood, the college campus across the street where he and his friend had both majored in criminal justice. At all the things that had changed and all that hadn't. A ching sounded at the door, and in walked Jordan Salavea, his old mate. They'd met freshman year in a class called Intro to Crime, and as they shared the same taste in movies and music, they had quickly become friends. They had also shared a certain vision of their major that separated them from the rest of their classmates. Crime to them was not just a means of study in order to get a job, as it was pragmatically for most others. Crimes and their motivations were, for the two of them, an obsession. They were kindred spirits in a way. Crime to them was an art. It was a war against the darkness itself, and also an acceptance of the darkness in yourself. For Mitch, especially, that darkness was a state of mind, a psychic place he went to whenever he could, a universe of endless euphoria. Jordan ordered a coffee at the counter, and came over. Mitch was standing up by then, and upon greeting, they slapped fives and hugged it out. It had been some time since they'd last seen each other. They usually spoke on an instant messenger online, so before letting go, Mitch held his old friend a moment longer to take a good look at him. The same eyes, the same smile when he laughed. The same slick, sick style of Hawaiian shirt, short shorts, and expensive flip-flops. He still wore those signature glasses of his, too, the ones with the clip-on shades that flipped up. On his wrist, the same gold watch. His hair was still frizzy now with a clean fade on the sides, but it had more gray in it now, and he'd put on a little weight since college, although who hasn't? Jordan was a big guy anyway. It looked good on him. To Jordan, Mitch looked like his old impassive self. He hadn't aged a day. With that same unfazed look he'd seen Mitch wear on his face in their classes, even when the most gruesome crimes were described. For no two obsessions are alike. And we get this graphic, okay? Mitch wasn't concerned with the crime's gruesomeness. For him, it was the mystery that mattered most. The places, the people, the question each crime makes you ask. That's what inspired him. Yes, I love this part of it too. It was all set against the darkest backdrop, one that demanded the strongest light in order to make one's way. He lived for this atmosphere. Jordan, on the other hand, was more encyclopedic, more of a scientist. He ran a website called thejordanproject.com, which he built as a comprehensive database of local crime, and below, in enigmatic italics, for the benefit of the community. All right, this looks like an actual web page. Let's see. The Jordan Project. Early one morning, in late March 2032, the Jordan Project's proprietary crime tracking algorithm alerted us to 3 separate crimes that had, according to various news reports, happened the previous night. Though taking place in different locations spread out across the city, it is, according to math, theoretically possible that the deaths occurred in a sequence perpetrated by a single killer. The algo marked all 3 as suspicious and connected. With the help of a college friend, the private detective and former deputy of the York County District Attorney's Office, Mitchell Cox, we were able to investigate the single killer theory further. Our pursuit of suspects led to the name Delphine Amaro. Everything, including gender and actual name, regarding Miss Amaro is unknown or impossible at present to verify. Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) requests to the local police department produced the following diary entry and sound recording, authored by the suspect. These documents' relation to the official investigation is unknown. Mitch, too, is off the grid, but that is nothing new. Tune in here for further updates. Got tips? Send them to the official Jordan Project tip line. Got tips. And we have a. Oh, man, I love this. This is like interactive storytelling. Okay, Mr. Riddle. I see you. Rita Kissinger, 62. Widow, local widow succumbs in hospital by Abigail Freeman, staff reporter. Rita Kissinger, 62, the widow of late fintech hardware entrepreneur Terrell Kissinger, succumbed to injuries Thursday evening at the York County Medical Complex. Ms. Kissinger was brought to a hospital by an unknown Nevada Highway Patrol officer who left the scene before further information could be gathered. What the hell? No way. How's this dude unknown? I do not know who he is. Authorities believe it was a hit and run and describe, well, okay, never mind. It's probably because this guy was not a Nevada Highway Patrol officer. That's probably what happened. He was posing. There's no way they don't know who, like, there's no way. Authorities believe it was a hit and run and described the officers leaving as odd and not a part of our SOP. Ms. Kissinger has no known next of kin, but leaves a sprawling property in Iberian Trails as well as several large stakes in local businesses. Lawyers for the deceased have requested privacy at this moment and declined comment. Elsewhere, another John Doe was found by the side of the road on I-111 in the burnt region outside the Gring, OTR. Dead of gunshot wounds, John Doe is believed to be the victim of a drive-by shooting. Police also recovered the body of missing Los Valles retiree Michael Hunter, 61. Mr. Hunter had been missing for 2 weeks when a maid called the police complaining of a foul smell. The body of Mr. Hunter was found in his attic. Police say they are investigating all possibilities, more to follow. This is so cool. This is, oh man, I might have to steal these ideas. Okay, let's see what happens when I got tips. It actually goes to an email address. Yo. Okay. Let's see, files. Amato, Dry Ice Queen. What does this do? Dry Ice Queen by Delphine Amato. Oh, wow. We've got a story within a story. This is so cool. When I was about 12, Ice Queen by Delphine Amato. Los Valles Police Department photocopied from the original. When I was about 12 or 13, I had this obsession with dry ice. I loved Halloween and generally all things spooky and gothic. It wasn't a part of my identity or anything. I wasn't a goth at school. Those kids wouldn't look at me thrice. But the sensation of scary fun was the first place I would go to when I wanted to escape into the realm of fantasy. This included movies, sleepovers, slumber parties, in short, of the things I liked, it was my favorite. My friends and I, it was our thing. We were neither popular nor unpopular. We were cool. At least we thought ourselves so. We were smart. But our thing was this obsession with the paranormal. That's what distinguished us from the other kids that liked whatever was on their phones or phablets or plexicons. Okay, we've got interesting spellings here. This gothic, romantic, spooky temperament was what made us unique. It colored everything we did. And we've got British spelling, or non-American English, right? Everything we did. Our humor, our silliness, our inherently anti-authoritarian intellects. This dork-sided inclination had nothing to do with morality. It wasn't about good and evil per se. It was our secret weapon. We knew instantly what had it and what didn't in art, music, life, etc. So if our teacher or pastor or president tried to tell us something different, we instantly knew they were lying. It was effortless to write these supposed learned elders off straight away, and we showed them no respect at all, no deference. It was that simple. Dry ice was a part of it all. When I was a kid, we could only stream movies on our TV. We didn't have all of the various ways of digesting entertainment that we have today, but looking back now at that apparent lack of options, it is clear to me that such restraint is a clear advantage. There was a certain look movies and shows had when all you had to do was click an app and click the show you wanted, without all of the personal control you have over platforms today, which only amounts to having to do so much more work, it seems. The small waxing sliver of a thumbnail a picture and a title only, especially with horror movies, which I wasn't allowed to watch and therefore could only steal viewings in quick, unchronological moments when my parents were looking or had gone to sleep, offered stolen glances into the worlds that were forbidden, that offered just enough to tempt and terrify. There was one movie in particular called The Threshold that was particularly noteworthy. That one really made an impression and has since stuck with me through the ages and eras of my personal history and growth. Despite new experiences, more knowledge, a higher tolerance for fear, it still manages to haunt like few other things ever could. I knew it then, in my tender and inexperienced youth, that what I was viewing existed in a place outside of our dimension, in a world of shifting space and time, a realm of heightened awareness and precision. HD world, I called it, because it was like our world, only better. Higher definition, higher quality, a battery charged to 101%. Ooh, man, that's a good way to put that. I like that. I'm going to have to steal that. My friends and I had all been there to take to this place, although the same things didn't always take us there. Still, the knowledge of having walked even for a second in this thrilling and terrible land bonded us closer together. The trailer for The Threshold consisted of a man, a creature really, some preternatural banshee or skinwalker, staring malignantly at the camera, through the camera, at you, the viewer. It was a face of unending terror. How else can I describe it? It was so unknown, so impossible looking, and its malice so defined and complete, so unfeeling towards you, so utterly incognizant of the fundamental value of your existence, that the pure dread I felt upon looking at the face was not merely a fear for my own personal safety, but for my entire consciousness as well. Ooh. Just looking at it seemed to be enough. The man could hurt you with just a look. I remember whispering to myself one night, sitting on the couch in the complete dark, the bluish glow of the TV screen, a light from an opening portal, that I had seen the devil. The man with the glowing power donut on the long hail of showers of ice silver hair hanging about his shoulders and curtains of gleaming crystal, the freak brightness of those vivid locks seemed connected to, one with, the gothic fog that hovered about him in thick, transparent plumes. This unholy mist captivated me. It was a signifying attribute of the multidimensional atmosphere where the Mothman was from. I remember thinking to myself that in the fourth dimension, a wight doesn't perceive events in the terms of 3D chronology, but rather in terms of their emotional potency. Yet it wasn't the monster itself. It was separate from him. And I found it extremely enticing to be so close to what I ultimately feared without having to embrace that black shadow. I mistakenly thought that I could have the mood without its darker inhabitants. If I could only possess the mist in order to unleash it in my own safe environs, for myself only, then the energizing effects of the proximity to such a force would be mine also. I was yet to learn how its effect was created. The dry ice, that is. The brother of a friend of mine explained it to me one day. He worked one summer as an apprentice to a technical crew working on a low-budget horror movie, The Long Interstate, I think it was. A cool movie, although for my friend's brother the subject of the movie never mattered. He only considered its technical aspects from the viewpoint of mise en scène. He cared nothing for what it was about. In other words, the mist meant nothing to him. I'd seen a similar kind of mist in the movie he worked on, although it didn't glow like the mist in the trailer for The Threshold, didn't have the same presence, and thus was so excited to talk to him about it, how they had created that effect. He told me it was made from a substance called dry ice. I was transfixed. Even the name, dry ice, sounds so cool. It was all I needed to create the world of my dark dreams in the comfort and safety of my home. The brother did not share my enthusiasm for such a rudimentary prop, as he called it, but he told me I could order it on Daintree any time, and it would be shipped to my door in 2 days, provided I was a Daintree Global team member. I wasn't, but I knew my mom was, so I begged and begged her, since it was dirt cheap. My mother agreed and ordered me some without much delay. I remember waiting for the package, being so excited to open it up, to see the colorful packaging, the crazy logo, to see what the substance looked like in reality, and of course to try it out for myself. Needless to say, it was a disappointment. The stuff, despite its ostentatious packaging, was weak sauce. There was very little cloud plumage, and zero of the atmosphere that I so craved. I tried it a few times till the stuff ran out, first, absurdly, during the day, outside. That was never going to work. My final attempt was at night, but it was so hard to orchestrate a time of the evening when I could have a room of the house, any room, completely to myself, without my mom or my brother or someone else walking in to see what I was doing, that it was a failure too. Even if the circumstances would have been right, the particular brand of dry ice I got was so tawdry and bad it could barely sputter out a few thin clouds, and it smelled like crap to boot. I didn't give up, though, and I even brought the package to my friend's bro so he could appraise it. He showed me back. He showed me the back, where it gave the concentration of CO2, the only real ingredient in dry ice. My package had a pathetic 47%. The rest was freezer packaged garbage. My friend's brother made fun of me for messing around with such amateur props and instead told me about the kind they used on movie sets. Studio production units got it from industrial meatpacking plants, slaughterhouses. It's used in abattoirs to keep the meat cold, and they don't fuck around with piddly amounts, according to my friend's bro. I asked him how to acquire such primo DI, but he didn't know. I kept looking. I eventually came across a website of dry ice aficionados. It's amazing, really. You can find a community of like-minded people to engage with about anything on the internet, who turned me on to a couple of different brands, which I tried over the next few months with mildly better results. I had not necessarily given up on the idea, but more so just forgotten about it when one day I got a notification. It was from the Dry Ice Society, the web forum I belonged to. From a screen name I didn't recognize called Dye Sublimator. I got a creepy feeling just looking at the name. It seemed overtly meant to frighten people. What was more was that the avatar was a JPEG 3500 of what appeared to be an 18th century oil painting, something you'd expect to find hanging in an old Austro-Hungarian castle, a picture of an inbred aristocrat, someone with endless financial means and innate cognitive empath limitations. That's good. What struck me most about the picture, a man or a woman, I couldn't tell. It could have been the fact that men dressed like women back then, with stockings and high heels, etc., were the eyes. The eyes immediately reminded me of the creature from the threshold. I sat there at my computer desk, stunned for a while. It was weird because it seemed natural that the creature and the dry ice forum should be connected, but something felt wrong. And when I thought about it, the reason for this was that the connection between the two had only existed for me. That is, I never told anyone why I was interested in dry ice, not to the full extent, and so for this connection to occur in real life was somewhat disorienting. It was a clear example of cognitive dissonance. It felt both natural and impossible. The connection was real, however, as real as the goose pimples that had manifested all over my body. The fact that the picture wasn't anything like the creature in appearance, not in any superficial way, and thinking about it deeper now, it wasn't even the eyes. They weren't the same eyes. It was the overall impression looking at the portrait made. That same kind of multi-dimensional control, for in the fourth dimension, emotions can be assumed and activated the same way we might use our motor skills. To convince myself that it was all in my head, part of our human need for connections and patterns, I looked up who played the character of the creature in the threshold. It was an Austrian actor named Dietmar Unterweger, or at least that was his stage name. From what I could find of him, he only played that one role, which didn't help to allay my growing apprehension, and from what I could gather online about him IRL, he was apparently a very obtuse, frustrating personality. One actor who worked with him on the set of The Threshold said that they had gotten into several heated arguments over rehearsal times and that Mr. Unterweger had threatened him with physical violence. The actor said that at first he thought Unterweger was a method actor and that it was all a part of the act, but he left the set feeling like it was the other way around. Unterweger was really like that in IRL, and was only playing himself. This made me really freaked out. Again, it was connected. I didn't think that the person reaching out to me online was somehow Unterwenger. I didn't believe then it was the fourth dimension, and still it's only a trope, a metaphor, I guess, but it didn't stop me from hesitating to reread the message sent to me. I connected them in my mind. Unterwenger's real-life creepiness somehow confirmed my fears that Die Sublimator was truly dark-sided. Trying again, hopelessly, I looked up Sublimator Dry Ice to see if I could sort out the illusion, for it struck me that the screen name was elusive in some way. I found that when the dry ice converts from a solid into a gas, it is called sublimation. Thus, Die Sublimator could be the dry ice sublimator, and that made enough sense for me to calm down a little. That is, until I realized that Die, D, is the German word for the, and that the use of German was not yet another actual connection between Unterwenger and my fellow online dry ice enthusiast. I was starting to get lost in my own labyrinth. I knew I couldn't tell this to anyone because from the very beginning, before I got to all of the weird connections and coincidences, they would either think I was weird and dismiss me entirely, or that they'd be instantly bored and not pay any attention. But here it was, this Cretan labyrinth, with a clearly identifiable, if not actual real-life, monster at its center. Wow, this is really good. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I am really impressed by this. Yeah, I'm just, the level of detail that, I just gotta, okay, I gotta see this. This is a M4A. This is an audio file. Let's see what this is.
Real life. They had tastes and smells, very specific ones. Like root beer and Halloween at night and sugar from candy skulls and cherry cola. The smell of fall moving into winter. I made myself ghastly in those days. I did it on purpose because it was my attempt to personify how I felt inside. And wear necklaces and paint my nails different colors and wear theatrical clothing, and everyone took like it as a personal insult aimed at them. I never understood it, why they felt that way, why none of them even tried to meet me somewhere in the middle, not 50-50, I wouldn't ask of them that much, but rather somewhere around 70-30, or 75-25 even. But no, they wouldn't budge, not an inch. And even if they had, they still wouldn't understand. They would never understand my mindset, or where I was coming from, not at all. They didn't get why I wanted to be sad, but my stalker would. When years passed and no one had thrown rocks at my window at night, or sent me anonymous letters, or called and breathed into the phone in the witching hours while everyone else was asleep, when no sign of the stalker emerged, I began to despair. Even though I kept getting this very intense feeling when I walked home in the evenings, I had this anticipatory feeling always within me, walking beside me as it were on the sidewalk, sometimes hand in hand with me, the feeling, like something was going to happen. I just knew it. Anytime now the letter would arrive, the face would be seen in the window pane, dark in the glass. It was always a special time when I'd feel this way, and the sky always had that particular quality about it, a color that infected the entire mood and atmosphere with its vital energy, frightening and beautiful, permeating all throughout the air, its invigorating and uncanny vibrations, totally igniting my adrenaline all by itself. Goosebumps time, when the smoldering glow that lived behind the trees and that turned the branches black and the sky to glowing fire would rage in its delirious freedom undaunted, nothing on earth or in the heavens out of its domain, and all the stronger for it. And of course, at these moments, people would be having great fires in their fireplaces. The smoke could be seen in the air, great black clouds of it, or they'd be in their backyards cooking meat in mass quantities over charcoal grills, and the savor of charred flesh would permeate the air. The smell had color too. It was smoky, like burnt bark, cinders flaring, black on ash. That smell and the special vermilion color of those autumn nights was everything. I would get home and my mom would ask, "Why is that smile on your face?" And it was always strange to me why she'd ask, but I'd have to think about it and I'd realize that I was smiling for something that hadn't happened yet. That's how sure I was that it would come. Night after night that autumn, I would arrive back at my house to find nothing, no mail, no news, no artifacts left at my door, and I'd sit and look out the window and I'd ask the horizon why it was taunting me. It became clear fairly early on that I would have to become what I was searching for. So I became a stalker.
That is so creepy. Fuck. The level of immersion. I mean, the fact that dude even set up, last updated October 25th, 2033. It takes place 8 years in the future, almost to the day. Today is the 22nd. That's crazy. Wow. I am blown away by this. Here I thought it was literally, this was free, y'all. He just gave me old Riddle gave me this and was like, yeah, I thought he was trying to save a few bucks by not printing out his novel. Turns out he's breaking ground, combining multiple media. We've got music, we've got audio files, we've got a different presentation in this girl's journal. It seems like in a very detailed story. I mean, I got halfway through and look how the background's changing. Like there's a lot of like deliberate design that went into this. Wow. Okay. So if you want to see me read more of this, let me know in the chat or let me know in the comments. There is no chat. This is being recorded, but let me know in the comments, and I'd be happy to revisit this because especially this Halloween, like I had no idea. I thought it was a mystery. Like, I mean, it starts private detective. I didn't know it was like going to be horror. It is really skewing horror, like thriller vibes. Wow. Whew. Whew. Man, it's crazy. Okay. So thanks for joining me. Like I said, if you're interested in, I try and do this at least once a week to where I read other people's stuff because stories like this, they're being created every day. And there's so many people who are out there who deserve just exposure to their work. And that's what I wanted to do with this. So if you are one of those people out there putting together a story, well, you can look in the link in the description, head to my website and sign up there. And then you can get a chance for me to read your stuff to spread the word about indie fiction. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.